unicef.ie and help save a child's life today. Thank you.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9pm daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Check this.
Welcome one and all to the DL Debate. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now on Highland Radio are back via the podcast. Thanks to Michaela there for the news. Of course, the legend Ivan Borland in the Power Hour Plus. Joe Dex is here producing as ever. Thank you, Joe. We have another packed show in store for you this evening. Coming up shortly, Conor Gartland of Donegal Hurling, the captain of Donegal Hurling, is going to be joining us to talk about their victory yesterday against Roscommon. We're going to then hear from Daire. We're going to talk about Daire of the People's Press. We're going to talk about the Abbey VS and Sculwara's All-Ireland Club Finals. He was at the Abbey victory. Fantastic to see Sculwara just coming up short by a point. Heartbreak from them, but Daire's going to join us to bring us through that. And Cahair O'Kane then will join myself and Daire. We'll talk all matters GAA and, of course, Derry Donegal, where they're positioned now with a couple of games to go in the league. And, of course, with this championship going down the road, I'm going to discuss a few matters else in the GAA, the likes of Jim Gavin and this new committee that's got together to save football. Does football need saving? I'm not too sure, but it'll be interesting to see their findings. I just want to put a message out to the Masters that were playing compromise rules at the weekend. The ladies over 40s and the men's over 40s and 50s. Conor McShane, a former Masters, played for years with Cahair, of course. He's back playing with over 40s. Paul Killan was playing with over 50s from the Neve Wara Club, and Mark Curran from McCool's. He was playing also in over 50s. My sister Maria involved in the coaching of the ladies. They all won, which is fantastic to see. And there's a second game coming up this weekend. I know Maria and the ladies are in Cavan, and the Den Club is hosting this competition. So great to see people get out and support them. The tournament named after, of course, Charlie Gallagher, who played many years for the Masters. Nice touch. So we wish everybody the best in that. Now, as I said from the top of the show, Donegal had a great victory away to Roscommon yesterday, and we're going to catch up with their captain now, Conor Gartland. Conor, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here now. Thanks for having me.
The magic of Zoom. Hey, Conor, hearing you loud and clear. Just on yesterday, Conor, we're heading away to Roscommon. Of course, we're sitting in equal points. It looked like it could be a sticky one, but a fantastic start from your men, Conor. Got a bit sticky after that, but certainly became good then in the latter stages. So wee Mickey can be hard to please there at times, and he was so about it. But again, a great victory for you, and it's a brilliant season start again.
Yeah, definitely. No, I didn't say nothing about Mickey there. That was all you. Definitely got off to a brilliant start now. I mean, there's very, very rarely would you go 7-0 up in a game at this kind of calibre. But like Mickey would have said in his own interview, we kind of took the foot off the gas a wee bit then for a while, which you weren't overly happy about. But come the end of the game, we kicked on again whenever we really needed to and showed good character. And those are the kind of games you really need to be playing at this time of the season. Them kind of ones where you really need to dig deep and drag out a one. And thankfully enough, we were fit to do that yesterday.
Yeah, and Conor, again, you won the McGurk, same as last season. You know, there just seems to be a great, spirit within this Donegal group. And, for years we would have spoke to Mickey about being able to survive in Division 2B. Now, it seems year on year we're progressing that bit. And, of course, Derry were the favourites. We're right in behind them. And, of course, London sitting in behind us. It's certainly teeing up a big game in the park coming up next St. Patrick's Day. Yeah,
absolutely. The McGurk Cup's always a good start to the season. It's a good time to look at boys and get meaningful games in before the league starts. And now that the league has started, we're very happy with our positioning in the league. I mean, it's all in our own hands now, and that's exactly where we wanted to leave it. London this weekend's going to be tough. We're all well aware of that. Whenever you're playing against boys the calibre of Jack Golden and Sean Glynn, them kind of players, you know you're in for a tough battle, but we're happy with the position we're in now and couldn't hope for much better at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's I suppose it's always a different proposition, London, in terms of who actually is going to be playing for them and who ends up there. So they often can maybe pull out a star that is going to be difficult, man, and they have a few that certainly need a bit of watching.
Yeah, London are always a different kind of team than every other team they play, and look, we're happy that we have them at O'Donnell Park. But they always have a few gems of players, and we'll be doing our homework and we'll know who we need to pick up and things like that there. But London are always a scary team to play against now, no doubt. Yeah,
because listen, we had that ding dong with Tyrone last game out, and London obviously 18-11 was pretty comprehensive there the last day. So if you're gazing against that, it's certainly going to be a tough encounter, Conor.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be tough, and we knew that regardless. And Tyrone are a very hard team to play against. They're a hard team to put up a score against. So putting up 18 points is a big scoreline against them. And Tyrone are a hard dogged team. They're good in defence. They're good going forward. So we'll gauge maybe a wee bit from that, but we won't be disheartened as well. And we also do have the home advantage, which is massive whenever you're playing against one of the teams coming from England.
Yeah, and Conor, is a feeling you know get to a league final would be the thing. You know, obviously get the semi first and see where it takes you in terms of the league. But it's all about championship, or is that feeling that we could go up and have a go at 2A?
Yeah, well, that is our goal now, to be honest. Whenever it comes to the league, is promotion, getting ourselves into one of them top 3 spots. And look, we normally are always geared towards the championship, and not any less so this year. But you want to win every game you play, and you want to win every tournament you enter. So we're not looking past the league, looking straight towards the championship. Like, we would like to make that league final again this year, and maybe even win it. But at the minute, we're just taking it one game at a time, and London this weekend is going to be a tough test.
Yeah, and Conor, the likes of a league final, let's say it did end up being ourselves in Derry. Is that the kind of standard then, you think, if you can cope with Derry, if you can give them a game, you can mix it the next step up? Is those the kind of games that bring the team on?
Aye, absolutely. You want to be playing against teams at the level you're trying to get to, and Daire are a brilliant side. Like, even the fact they got to the Christie Ring final last year, if we were able to hang with them, that shows us we're kind of at the position we want to be in. So Daire is the kind of team you want to be playing now. They're always a good side, and they may have been that step above Donegal in the past, so we're trying to close the gap and bring Donegal hurling on, and Daire is where we want to be at the minute. Yeah,
and Conor, from your own perspective, you're young, what is you, 21?
20.
And you're captain of Donegal. I'm just trying to think back, Conor, when I was 20, I wouldn't have been captain of a 4th division team. Let alone my county. It's quite an honour, Conor, to have on you. You've obviously got great shoulders for that, to bear that, in terms of obviously what Mickey's seen in you in terms of being a leader. You're in that central role in the team, and it must be a great honour for you to captain your county.
Oh, it's a massive honour, as you would guess yourself now. It's brilliant, like, and I do enjoy the role, and I think Moore kind of put it out as like marking a change in Donegal hurling and showing that our young boys are coming through now. Like, even our vice captain Stevie McBride's only 22, so it's kind of marking a new chapter in Donegal hurling. And look, I'm very glad that it's been put on my shoulders now, definitely.
Yeah, well, listen, it doesn't. Obviously, Mickey would know. He's been around the block. I suppose when you were growing up, Conor, you were watching Mickey. We had to give him a wee touch there, but we have to give him a bit of compliment. He was a queer hurler himself. I'm sure as a young lad, those are the type of guys you were watching as you were growing up.
Yeah, Mickey was a brilliant hurler. I remember watching him as a young lad as well. And the likes of watching him and Niall, Jude Campbell and Joe Boyle, like my own club men, was just really drove me on hurling wise, Were you too young to remember Ronan McLaughlin? I was at me Ronan the day I was talking about you. I don't know, he says he wouldn't even remember me playing. I'll tell you no lies. I don't remember Ronan playing now, but he's the manager of our football team at the minute, so I'd know Ronan well enough. But I never got the pleasure of watching him play now.
He might have mentioned once or twice, Conor, that he's played at every age, soccer, hurling and Gaelic football all the way through. He was a decent soccer player as well, by the way. But he's the only person in Donegal ever to do this. I'm pretty sure, definitely. I'm sure he's told you this before now.
Oh yeah, he has. And he's also mentioned that he was under 14 table tennis champion as well. I forgot about that. But
no end to the talents, Conor. No end. Conor, listen, that's fantastic. Listen, Conor, thanks so much for joining us this evening, Conor. The hurling world, and I was saying to people, if you're up in Letterkenny and there'll be people coming up for St Patrick's and what have you, for the town there, get out first. That game's it's about 1 or half one, is it, Conor? St Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Yes. Get out and support the lads. It's always a fantastic occasion at the park, Conor. And listen, we want to wish you all the best. And again, congratulations on the captaincy. A mighty man for the job. And listen, we'll be keeping an eye on you as the season goes on. We'll catch up again.
Aye, that's great. Thanks very much for having me.
No bother. Pleasure, Conor. That's Conor Gartland there. After the break, we're going to catch up with Daire Boner. He's out here looking in. He's mad to get in to get talking ball. We'll be doing that after the break.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Right now, B&Q Club members get 10% off everything in-store and online. Not a member? Join today, save today. Sign up in-store or at diy.ie. Offer ends Tuesday. You can do it. Exclusions and terms and conditions apply. See diy.ie.
Highland Radio are celebrating another birthday. We are inviting you to join us for our Highland Radio Birthday Bash on Tuesday the 19th of March in the Mount Errigal Hotel. Joined by the one and only Margot, myself, David James, plus special guests Brendan Quinn, Declan Ernie and Patrick Feeney. This is a night not to be missed. Tickets now on sale. For more information, visit the outlet at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We'll see you at the Highland Radio Birthday Bash.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Welcome back, folks. Daire Boner's in studio. Daire, good to see you.
Cheers, Brendan. Thanks for having me again.
Daire, listen, you're a great man. Anytime I give you a wee shout to come up for a few words, you're always like more than happy to come up, which is great because we like to keep people informed. There was a man actually texted me last night from all the way from Australia, a wee boy called Peter O'Doherty, and he's out there with Charlene. They had a wee baby recently, actually, same as myself. But it's funny, around the world, you know, you go away and you like to get caught up on what's happening in Donegal and GA, and that's Pistol. So Pistol, hope you're doing well out there, lad. I hope that baby's sleeping for you. Mine's is at the minute, I'm not too bad. But at the weekend, Daire, you were out and about. You went up to Abbey VS with their All Ireland Bees final, and again, there's no stopping. I know there's more than 4 Masters men playing in there, but backbone by this underage wave that's coming from 4 Masters. Abbey took the title.
Yeah, they're brilliant once again. Like, as you say, dominated by 4 Masters, but you did have Donald Gallagher and Aaron McGrory in there from Neve Breed and Oisin Mogan as well, St. Nolls. All 3 of them had brilliant games too now, but just from front to back, really, they were the better team for the whole game now. They did have a bit of a sticky patch in the second half. I think they were well up at half time and 7 points up, and the Ashburn came back at them well now. They just speaking to Jimmy Brennan after the game, the joint manager, and some of the players too, they said they knew there was going to be a purple patch for Ashburn. It was just about how they dealt with it, and they did deal with it eventually. They're losing kickouts for a good maybe 5-10 minutes of that restart, but once they got going again, they never looked like they were going to lose that.
And Jamie Brennan's interviews up on the site, highlandradio.com there was Daire, it's that thing, and I see that in the north a lot. There's a lot of players there, ex-players and current players involved in the schools, you know, and to have somebody like Jamie Brennan in there, you know, huge thing as well in terms of guiding them young boys.
Yeah, well, I mean, he mentioned in that interview too that it was his first real managerial sort of gig, but obviously a player of that experience is always going to have so much to teach those younger players. And I mean, no doubt from the majority of the Four Masters ones, they've had their own through Woody McBride and Doherty there, the two of them, man, done brilliant for them. But yeah, those current players, like the fact Jimmy's still playing and he's learning from the best and he's passing that knowledge down is great for their development.
Magic, after the match, you caught up with man of the match, Kevin Muldoon. There's a quick interview from him here.
So I'm here with Kevin Muldoon after Abbey Vocational School have won the Paddy Drummond Cup, 115 to 9 points against Ashbourne Community School. Kevin, probably a bit of a mental game. You were well on top in the first half and then they came back at you.
Yeah, they were we done very well in the first half there. We got knocked over a lot of scores with the wind. And then in the second half they came out very strong and we just had to sort of weather that and stop their goals as they got in the semi-final. I suppose that won us the game.
Yeah, I'm sure at half-time 10-3 up. No doubt Stuart and Jimmy weren't letting you be complacent, and it was just about weathering that storm in the second half. But I think you set up the score that kind of got you back going again in that second half.
It wasn't easy now because it was hard to get our hands on the ball in that kick out, and we just had to work really, really hard. And Mr. Brennan and Mr. McFadden didn't let us let the heads go and just kept us in this game, and so it went well.
Yeah, just I think maybe the ending of that game, Conor McCahill getting that late goal, that was probably when you knew it was game over, and you were probably ready to celebrate, but there's still a couple of minutes left to go after that.
We done very well to work that goal because they just got their black card at that stage, I think, and that just really gave us the edge to keep going. And Turner put in a great ball for him, and then Conor topped the ice in the cake.
Yeah, and it's been a sensational probably even 6 months maybe between winning the minors with Four Masters, but a couple other lads in the team from St. Knowles and Neve Breed, and you've got over the line and you're all Ireland champions now. How does that feel?
It's incredible. To do it at this age, I don't think we understand yet, but it'll be something to remember anyway.
And for yourself, you're a man of the match there. You were just mentioning as well the size of the pitch. You didn't look like you ran out of legs there, but I'm sure it wasn't easy on the legs.
It was a big pitch now, but it's a great experience to play on it.
Yes, great stuff there. Daire, just tactically about, we see how much tactics is involved in all aspects of football. How much is it in that game and what you've seen at the weekend around, you obvious kick-outs, fly keepers, the squeeze? Is all those things happening at the level that you're looking at the weekend?
Yeah, but now, to be fair, I mean, Four Masters keeper, was it Daniel McGinty, is it? He was quite well involved. I mean, the kick-outs now, the Ashbourne team were much more physical, and they showed that too. They were trying to stop them at any chance they could, because once the Four Masters or the Abbey men got going, they were flying past them at times. But the physicality was there to be seen, and the press from Four Masters, I keep saying Four Masters, from Abbey. The press from them, it was just brilliant to watch it as well. It was well drilled into them what they needed to do, and they did it well. Yeah,
great stuff. We have to mention, of course, Skolwara, who came so close. So that was the B final that Abbey won. This was the D final. They lost out to a point by Gallant CS of Offaly, and again, big season. You're so close. As you mentioned, they're All Ireland champions, and so ringed it, and a bit of heartbreak for Skolwara. It was 2 big seasons they put in.
Yeah, and it is disappointing for them because they started so well in that game. They were 1-3 to no score up after 13 minutes, and I think they just got 2 points after that. I'm not sure what happened. Did they just get a wee bit ahead of themselves maybe in that game? Obviously, whenever you are younger, maybe it can take its toll then, and once the momentum shifts like that, it's hard to break it. And yeah, I suppose it's just disappointing for them, but another great side there that they have.
Yeah, Kevin Campbell involved there. We were talking to him a couple of weeks ago. He's a man of many talents between Satan to Hurling and all he's done with Donegal, etc., etc. But another man with a lot of talents is the one and only Cahair O'Kane of the Irish News. Cahair, are you hearing us there?
Thanks, Brenton. I am. I didn't expect to hear that, but I am hearing you.
Hey, listen, you're putting out great stuff. No more than this man across from me. I absolutely love the content. I think between the two of you there, it's must reads every time the paper comes out. You're putting out great stuff, Cahair. You're keeping us well informed.
Good man, Brenton. Thank you.
No bother. We're looking there just across the league. Couple of games to go now. Some interest, there's so much backstories to every team, Cahair, and they're all different. but particularly if we're honing in after Derry the last day against Dublin, so many people are question marking what's happening and what's going on. What's your take on Derry now in the league as we approach the last 2 games?
Well, I think probably ironically, there's probably we learned less about Derry from the Dublin game than any of the 4 games they'd played previously, because of the team that Mickey Hart selected. In the 4 games that they played previously, they won the 4, and people were talking them up as the best team in the country at the minute, which was very, very premature. And in my view, where you had to drill down and look at what they had played against. I think it was 8 of the All-Ireland final team for Kerry on the opening day. Tyrone were down seven key men. Monaghan are obviously besieged by injuries and losing Rory Began, losing Cahair Gallagher. They were down an awful lot of men. Galway had no team compared to the team that was in the 22 All-Ireland final. You take Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, Kelly McDaid, Liam South, all those boys out of that team. And so it's not that Derry were necessarily doing a lot wrong, but they were being judged on 13 or 14 of their championship team against half teams effectively in the first 4 rounds of the league. So while they won them, I didn't actually feel that we learned as much about Derry as maybe other people thought they'd learned about Derry in those 4 games. And then when we were looking forward to probably learning for the first time about them against Dublin, they kind of shied away from that and sort of held their powder. So my feeling is we don't really know enough. I've seen changes. I see differences in the way that they're playing. How that will stack up in the summer is the bit that we don't really know yet.
And Daire, what you look at that Derry defence there, and players coming in and out. You look at Baker, McCluskey, Doherty, Grogan, like McKinless. Obviously the power that they have in there in terms of strength and experience, and McCaig. And then you look at our defence the last day. You've Brian McHugh, Pater Mogan. You had, obviously Moore back in there, sweeper. I know they lost Brendan McCall in that, but a very kind of attack-minded, kind of half-forwardy nearly defence. The Derry defence, Daire, seems so much more rigid. Ready for, I suppose, championship battle. Would that be a bit of a fear going into it?
Yeah, I think it always has to be. You have some of those, like the likes of Ciara Moore, who has been brilliant so far. There's no doubt in that. Just what it's going to be like coming into the championship then for those, whereas the Derry side are obviously well more experienced, especially coming into those championship games at the minute. I think Brendan McCall's going to be a big loss if he is out for quite a while. It's going to be massive for Donegal's chances anyway.
Is it a toe injury or something?
I think there was something about a toe in the first couple of minutes of that game.
Yeah,
he got hurt now.
He is kind of irreplaceable. Like Moore was great down there, but obviously no disrespect to Louth and that. Your positional sense and all that. McCall has been operating. I think he's one of the best about. So it'd be difficult to not have him in there.
Yeah, definitely. And just as you say, a league game against Louth's completely different animal to a championship game against Derry, and that is another thing. You can't take league as gospel for him really, and I suppose that's kind of what Cahair was mentioning about Derry there as well. People are getting a bit ahead of themselves maybe on Derry because they started so well, and it's kind of, you just can't really take it for what it is.
Yeah, the first year I suppose, Cahair, the way Mickey approaches the season in terms of McKenna Cup and coming into it, you're always hard because we've seen it so many years now, Cahair, but just that strength that you have, Cahair, if you look at it from defence out, maybe versus a Donegal, would you see that people keep talking about Derry being further down the tracks and that, but the reality is that defence of yours would be a lot more difficult to break down, a lot more solid at what they're doing. Is that what you would expect from that game and from those back sixes if they lined up the way they did in that, and what we would expect?
Yeah, I think the most underrated part of the Derry team is their half back line. In terms of nationally, in all the conversation that happened around the All-Ireland semi-final last year in the Kerry game, the bit that was never really talked about outside of locally in Derry was the loss of Paddy McGrogan. Paddy McGrugan has turned into the most reliable, solid footballer for Derry. Really, really classy centre half back, wing half back. You can play him either. He's a centre half back, really, in the old style terms. And Paddy kicked an early point against Kerry. I can't remember who it was. Dived into block him, but in the collision got hurt and had to go off after 10 minutes. It meant that Conor Doherty had to come across to Sean O'Shea. Sean O'Shea didn't really get a kick in the first half. Derry were running out of legs after 10-15 minutes in terms of their attacking game in the second half. Conor Doherty started to push on, and when you actually watch that game, people said afterwards that Sean O'Shea was, back. He scored 3 points from play and he had his best game of the summer. When you actually watch it back, the 3 points that he got were when Derry broke down and attacked. Conor Doherty had gone on the attack to try and give Derry some legs and got caught. And Sean O'Shea was standing almost cheating and kicked the ball over the bar.
Yeah.
Derry's half back line of, when they're fit, Conor Doherty, Paddy McGrugan, Gareth McKinless, is a really outstanding half back line. They've scores in them. All three of them are goal finishers. We've seen the three of them score goals in fairly recent games. They all can take a goal. And then you obviously Conor McCluskey, who keeps popping up with these goals, particularly against Monaghan, and particularly for some reason we don't really know why he keeps scoring them on his left foot. He was clean through against Dublin and had the choice of his feet and decided to go on his weaker left. So we haven't wrapped our heads around that one, because he doesn't often shoot on his right foot. Doesn't often shoot on his right foot for points. Yeah. So the fact that he scored 3 goals on his left foot in the last year, we don't really know. But there are scores coming out from that Derry defence, and it's a thing that Donegal, I remember vividly in the game in Ballybofey last year, which was probably Donegal's best performance of the season when Derry played Donegal last year. But I remember how Derry targeted specific players in terms of legs, Conor McCluskey particularly, and they isolated them in one-on-one situations, particularly Keelan McGonigal and Jason McGee. They felt that they could get at them in terms of turning them and making them defend the spaces in behind them. And if you watch again the video of that, all 3 goals came off those isolated one-on-ones where Derry manufactured it really smartly. So, I mean, we know the level of analysis that Derry will do. We know the level of analysis that Donegal will do on it. And it's, I suppose, who can find the chinks in the armour. If Brent McCall is not fit for Donegal, it's huge, because he's the obvious. I mean, he's done fairly well against Shane McGuigan in the couple of games that he's come up against him. And if he's not there, I don't see an obvious solution to that problem for Donegal.
Yeah, and doing fairly well against McGuigan is doing brilliant against most players. I think the man is just an unbelievable talent. They're having a few injuries there, but nothing, that's been, has hampered the team too much. At the minute, we're sitting with quite a few. I mean, look, we haven't seen Conor O'Donnell this year. Obviously, you've Niall O'Donnell, Jason McGee, Cahair just mentioned him there. Keelan Ward, Brendan McCall picked up that injury, home ban. Like, you're going to need these boys, Daire, if you're going to have a chance of beating Derry, because all those guys could potentially start for Donegal. So it's not just a thing where it's a reserve or whatever. You really need these guys. So the injuries is going to play a big part, having these guys fit to take on Derry.
Yeah, and especially those two in the defence of McCall and Owen Ban. I think, like, if you don't have the two of them fit, or even if only one, you're gonna be up against it now. Just what Cahair was saying there about the isolated 1v1s. I know we've kind of pushed McGonigal back a wee bit now out of the midfield, and then I know Jim's experimented in the midfield a lot this year with the legs in midfield. I don't know, maybe he's trying something that might come into play against Derry. I think he's shifted about a lot this year, just trying to find the right positions for the right players, and that's exactly what the league's about. But obviously, it's gonna take a lot more when it comes to the crunch time.
Yeah. And there, Cahair, what's the feeling now? There's this week off. A lot of talk about rest and obviously the Glen players. Bradley's back in there as well in terms of getting them boys in the right position for an assault in Ulster, and then the group stages that'll follow. But what's the feeling now in the next couple of league games? Is it something that you think Hart will do what he did against Dublin and kind of go through the motions a bit? Because it could very easily end up in a league final again with Dublin. And again, I can't see if Hart played it that way the last time. What would he care? You know, you're going to be 3 weeks out from the championship, so it's going to be a strange kind of finish to the league, I imagine, for Derry. I don't know, that's the feeling I get in terms of Hart's attitude towards it.
Yeah, I think they probably set their style. I think the thing that caught people out with the players being rested against Dublin was it was very un-Mickey Hart. You know, he's always used Dublin in the last 10 years, particularly as his template. You know, it was the game where he would try things and see could he poke at their weaknesses and see what he could find out about Dublin. And, you know, I remember vividly the breakout game for Cahill McShane at full forward for Tyrone was in Croke Park in a league game against Dublin. That was the kind of thing he did, and it really caught Dublin out that night. Tyrone beat them, and McShane scored a goal and gave them hell. And I think the surprise was that Derry took the Dublin game soft, but they haven't taken the league soft. I don't expect them, now that they've had the rest, I don't expect them to take the rest of the league soft at all. I expect them to go after their last 2 games. And for that reason, I tipped at the start of the league that it would be a Derry Dublin League final. I think that's where we're headed. And when you look at it then in that context, when you reverse it, and look, to be fair, Mickey and Gavin Devlin maybe looked at this, but Derry put all their eggs in the basket of the league game in Celtic Park last year. Really went after the league game and beat Dublin up in Celtic Park and did really, really well. And then went to Croke Park and didn't go after it as hard in the Division 2 final. They were well outplayed in the second half, but also Chrissy McCaig and Owen McAvoy didn't start. The 2 of the full back line at that time didn't start the Division 2 final. Conor Glass come off a couple of minutes into the second half, and all 3 played a couple of weeks later against Fermanagh in the championship. So there was a very precautionary feel that it was, and feels like Derry are maybe eyeing up going the opposite way, taking the precautions in the league game and then having a cut at Dublin in Croke Park, where you maybe want to have a cut at them and see can you do it again, because Derry went very close against Kerry in terms of their performance and the style that they played that day in the semi-final. It's now backing that up and playing that way again against a Dublin team that obviously are very, very threatening, to say the least.
Yeah, because they did a terrible start to the league in terms of what they were looking. Probably, but listen, they're beat by Monaghan, they're unlucky probably to lose to Mayo. Since then, they've really stepped it up. I mean, they came to Celtic Park. I think from a Derry fans' perspective, the crowd and the occasion and all, it was a pity you just didn't go at it. But I'm just thinking, my Roscommon, what you're saying there, my Roscommon friends won't be happy. They were hoping you would kind of rest players against them, but I think you could be right there, Cahair. That might not happen, and Roscommon will be under pressure. But should Cahair now, if that league final happens and Derry go and won the match, let's say, it would give them huge confidence to take Donegal on a few weeks later.
It would, and equally, I mean, it's the other side of it. I mean, the League 2 or the Division 2 final last year, because Derry were down the 3 or 4 players, because they actually performed really, really well in the first half. From memory, I think they kept Dublin to 4 points.
That's
kicking into the hill in the first half, and I searched the records that day, couldn't find the last time that Dublin had been kept to 4 points in a half of football in Croke Park.
That's right. It was the goals second half. It's coming back to me now.
And Conor Glass had gone off in the process of the first goal being scored. He had he just had a problem with his lower back, and he had just nipped it and gone down as Dublin were moving the ball forward. And obviously Conor Glass is so important in sitting protecting that hole for Derry, and the thing kind of collapsed around him. So, you know, there's all that side of it, and the sense that, so Derry psychologically didn't really take a hit from losing that league final last year because of those things. And I think they took more out of the first half than they did out of the second. And if they go into a league final this year and they really go after a league final and they really want to go after Dublin and see, can we beat Dublin in a big game in Croke Park, and they don't, then the psychological hit comes, because you've gone chasing something. And I think that's what they will do. I think they'll try and have a cut at them, and it's dangerous territory. I mean, we remember 2014, Derry reached the league final. and
That's
got
right.
hockey in from
That's
Dublin.
Right. That's right.
In the league final, and it really damaged Derry's psyche that year. It really, really damaged it, and they were gone by the first round. They lost to Donegal and Celtic Park, and then they were gone in the first round of the qualifiers against Longford. And so, look, that's the game you play. It's like everybody talking about Conor Murray's kick of the weekend. Like, hindsight is 2020, and straight after the event, knowing what you should have done before it. But I suppose Mickey Hart and Gavin Devenney just don't have that luxury.
Yeah, interesting points there, how that can affect you. I think obviously, Carl, you would say this Derry team is a lot more backbone, obviously back-to-back Ulsters in a way. How much the league would affect them, I don't know, maybe Dublin in many ways. I think now this Dublin team really wants to try and open up teams that sit like that. You know, they take a bit of a joy and buzz in that. But they're in many ways, Donegal get to a league final and they play Armagh. It's a good contest for us as well. Should we come out on top of that? You know, it still is that it's the one big team that's in Division 2 that if we do, we should have beat them the last day up in Armagh. So, you know, Donegal could come in very buoyed from a performance in a league final too. Should that be the final two pairing?
Yeah, I think if both teams were to have a fully fit, full strength teams for either side, I know there was men missing for both sides when they met in the athletic grounds. If there was two fully fit teams going at it in a league final, and Donegal were to come out on top, I mean, you'd be buzzing with that. Like, I mean, obviously Armagh getting to the Ulster final last year, and sure they've just had terrible luck on penalties in the championship in the last couple of years. So like they're not an easy team to beat. Like, so if Donegal came out of that winning the title as well, I mean, you'd be going in with a lot less fear anyway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say no fear now, but
yeah,
definitely you'd have to have a lot of confidence coming from it anyway, and no doubt the players would take that, and Jim would have that, and the players too.
How the two teams play in those two games would actually have a decent bearing, I think, on the confidence going on, even though there's so many experienced players around it too. But lads, that's very interesting points. After the break, we're going to talk a wee bit about Jim's comments on tactical fouling, a wee bit about the Football Review Committee as well, lads. I'm looking forward to get your views on that. We'll catch up after the break.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring are 26 years old, and to celebrate, we're offering up to 70% off everything in store. That's right, a massive birthday sale with up to 70% off all tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Everything's in stock. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring, up to 70% off birthday sale ends Sunday.
The Alley Theatre Spring Programme is out now, featuring the Strabane Drama Festival from the 8th to 16th of March and much more. Check out the Alley's full programme now. Visit alley-theatre.com for more details.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, folks, welcome back. That was a quick break. Hardly time for a cup of tea there. Joey was about to make me one, but I was like, no, we'll leave it there after, Joe boy. Cahair, this, what do you say? We're going to start with Jim McGuinness's comments on tactical fouling, actually. Cahair, you know, is it something, I was just wondering, does it need a tougher punishment out there? We see it all the time now, and it's always become part of our game that foul them out the pitch and stop them, and there's that, you know, deliberate foul where you see the body language of the player doing it. He basically stops the man, gets in the way, and then retreats back in. Is it something you think is a real problem out, particularly out around the middle, or as teams are trying to break out the pitch? Is it something you see that may need something like a black card or a moved up free?
Do you know what's funny? I remember speaking to Chrissy McCaig. I was down in Tralee in the first round of the league. Derry played Kerry down there, and I spoke to Chrissy McCaig after the game, and he talked that night about the one rule change that he would implement was the 50-metre penalty from the AFL, where basically obstructing the kick, 50-metre penalty as it says on the tin, and it would have an enormous impact. Now, you know what, it was something I hadn't really thought an awful pile about, and then it was you kind of watching games in the league from that mindset then later on, and you think, you know, that could actually really help, because it's one of those things. I wouldn't say that at the minute it's a particular blight on the game, people aren't looking at it and thinking that has to stop or this. But in terms of how it would help the game, there's no doubt. I think it would have an enormous impact if there was some kind of... That's probably the easiest way to do it. I think, to be fair, it's a really, really difficult game to referee. Yeah. Football is... I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole in terms of refereeing. So we can't really expect referees to judge that sort of cynical... The wee tug of the jersey on the way out slows up the attack, as you say, and get behind the ball again then, lads. And, if teams were starting to get booked for that, you can be sure the managers would be in uproar, the players would be in uproar, but as a spectacle, it would help the game. And, I know generally the public doesn't like Gaelic football aping soccer and stealing ideas out of soccer, but, soccer in this sense has it fairly nailed on. It's fairly obvious when a team is on transition like that on the break, any kind of a foul when you're the wrong side of the man is a booking, because that's the level of punishment that's required. That's the level of deterrent that's required against those fouls. And I think we probably wouldn't say we necessarily do have to look at it. It's not a huge thing, but certainly looking at it wouldn't do any harm. It could help the game for sure.
Yeah, where do you stand on that, Daire?
Yeah, I'd probably echo the same sort of thing. It's nothing that's... It's probably not the worst thing out there at the minute. It is obviously slowing the game down in that. I know Cahair mentioned there about if you're having a 50-metre penalty, but I suppose that's taking extra time too. You're kind of wondering then, maybe is that going to slow the game down more? But I think the yellow card's possibly a bit too harsh as well. I don't... It's a hard one to
So
nail
you're
down.
a nice guy. You see, you don't want to send anybody off. I could tell.
You saying I'm not?
Hey, the Derry boys are always tougher. We know that. We'll just leave it at that, Cahair. But listen, you're on about rule changes there. Well, obviously the new football review committee was set up there. And have you ever said a man wax lyrical about another man in terms of her Jarlath Burns, of course, taking on Jim Gavin and saying basically he's never met anybody as impressive in his life, Cahair, and he's met the two of us as well, which I must admit I wasn't happy about that. But yeah, this new committee, Eamon Fitzmaurice and the likes of Malachy O'Rourke and Colm Nally's in there and Colm Collins and people like that. What are you expecting from this, Cahair?
It'll be really interesting to see what they come up with. Obviously, they're all in a relatively good position in terms of having coached the game in fairly recent times. But there's a tendency among, when you're involved in the coaching side of it, you're loath to start recommending mass changes in case it goes against your team. And ultimately, the people involved are removed from it, but they'll all still have their own biases. Jim Gavin, in the back of his mind, will still want to protect Dublin. Eamon Fitzmaurice, in the back of his mind, will still want to protect the traditional kicking style in Kerry. And so, I think, I can't remember who it was made the point, maybe on the Sunday game, but basically, I think the first thing is to decide, what do you want to achieve? What do you actually want football to look like? I think that's your starting point, because if you don't go from there, it's very hard. Then you end up, one idea rubbing off the other. Everybody's had rule suggestions and changes. I don't know, many I've had over the years myself. And then, for a long time, I thought 13-a-side was the way forward for football, because it would create more space and there'd be more kicking and all that. And then you see the possession thing really kicking in the last few years. And for me, 13-a-side would be a total disaster now, because the team that's winning would have an even easier time sucking the life out of a game. So with every potential fix, there are massive unintended consequences. And it is something that Jarlath Burns has talked about when he was head of the standing committee on playing rules, the unintended consequences. And it's really difficult. We've all had suggestions. I would have felt that a couple of different scoring zones where you had maybe 2 points from a certain range, 3 points from a different range, and maybe 4 or 5 for a goal. Because if you just change it and make it 4 for a goal, teams would have a tendency to defend even deeper, protect the goal. If you give the reward of maybe 3 points for a kick from outside 40 metres, then the defence has to press out because 3 points is a serious hit if you concede that score. So then you're torn between, do we drop right in to protect the goal? Do we push out to stop the 3-pointers? And I think, but again, it's probably imperfect as well. There's a lot they're going to have to pick through. I don't know, to be honest. I don't think that they know themselves what they're going to come up with at this stage. There's so many ideas out there, and there's so many consequences of a knock-on of them.
Yeah, it's always a difficult one. There's this argument, leave the game evolve on its own. You know that it is evolving. Personally, I don't think Donegal club football is as much. We're always on about county, but at the end of the day, I don't see the club as much now. I'm just talking about Donegal again. It can be very negative and defensive. And is that something you would ever think about the fact of keeping a couple of players inside? Because we've seen probably from that Kerry Dublin game a few weeks back around players were left inside, and then you have a kick passing game, there is space and it's much more exciting. Now a lot of Ulster teams tend not wanting to play like that, and maybe certain only the very best maybe can in Croke Park and what have you, but would you think with a tactic like that, two have to be inside the 45 minimum, would at least connect up the play that it is a more kick passing game?
It might, yeah. I mean, you'd have teams going longer then as well, but I don't know, it's just a case of can you, I don't know, is it maybe just Donegal's a bit like that? I don't know, can you teach an old dog new tricks? The way we're well set in our ways in club football, the way we play, I think, but just even there on the new, if you're bringing in new rules, teams and managers are always going to find a way to exploit it, and it usually doesn't end up being pretty. I think it's the case whenever rules do come in, you've the likes of the marks, some people don't like them, kind of slows the game up at times too. I think it's just, whatever rule you bring in, there's always going to be someone's going to find a way to exploit it and use it to their advantage, and it mightn't be pretty, and I suppose that's just the way it's always going to be. It's hard to pinpoint where you actually go with it then.
Yeah, and Gary, is it a thing? Again, we're always thinking about the county whenever we see these groups, but obviously it'll reverberate into the club. For Derry, for example, in your club championship there, you've got a couple of teams that can kind of play whatever tactic they want against a lot of other teams that are going to beat them. You only maybe see the real tactic when we get to probably semi-final or final stage in terms of how deep teams are playing. Is that a bit of a worry for you in terms of, say, the club versus the county, that the pace of the county means that it's quite often maybe that bit more exciting and doesn't need maybe the same tweaking?
It's funny. I think what we've certainly seen in recent years with all of the tactical developments that have happened at inter-county is that then the club game tends to ape them. Within, it's like a delayed response. The club game about 18 months to 2 years later will look what the county game did. And I think, in fairness, Donegal aped Jim McGuinness's team quite quickly, and obviously he had done that in Niamh Connell before he went to Donegal, and that has been ingrained. And to be fair, Donegal football has probably found it hard to get out of that, not because of the inter-county thing, but because of Niamh Connell and how how effective and how good they are at what they do, and the fact that nobody has really found the way to beat that. So that there's that side of it, but Donegal is probably quite unique. I very quickly I made my debut in the Antrim Senior League yesterday.
Good man.
Playing against Carrigan, and Carrigan. The first ball I set on the tee, Carrigan had 15 men in our half. We were playing against the wind, and Carrigan had 15 men in our half, right. And that is what you find. That has come from inter-county football. Teams are seeing that trend of teams pushing right up on the goalkeeper and giving them nowhere to kick it and taking those risks, and you'll find that comes in. So in terms of the evolution of the club game, I think the rules are less of a concern in terms of the club game will tend to go where the county game has gone. And I think we overcomplicate sometimes the idea that the club game can't adapt or can't cope, or some of the things, the only obvious one that the club game maybe couldn't cope with is a shot clock because of simply the technology and the manpower required to run that. For me, any other rule change is fairly transferable, and I think that's something that's overplayed a wee bit.
Did the Carrigan boys know they were up against a deadly kick-out specialist? They probably didn't factor that in, did they?
The Carrigan boys were rubbing their hands after 10 minutes. Picking off everything. I was like, oh, Jesus.
Were you doing a bit of fly keeping as well? Were you coming up the pitch?
No, I'm too old for that. No, I'm too old.
You were playing it too smart. Hey, we'll leave that there for another one. That thing of evolution of teams, are you happy enough that the game can evolve itself? I mean, last year there was another committee set up. Our own Michael Murphy was in it, and I think Malik O'Rourke was the only player that's been involved in this one and the last one. But they came out with 58, I don't know, things that they had seen and looked into. I don't even know what came out of it. Sometimes, we hear these groups setting up and then you're wondering I presume Jareth Burns is not going to be like that. He seems like a guy's very front-footed, very accountable. He definitely wants to change things in his time there. So you'd think, particularly with heading up Jim Gavin in there, that they will look into every aspect to try and improve it, not just bring in something that might work. I think that they will very much be very introspective about getting the best from our game.
Yeah, well, I mean, just as you said, like I don't even remember, has there been anything that's actually come out of that findings from last year? Like, it's
some kind of faff come out of it. That's all I know. I don't even know what it meant. I was reading into it one night and I was like, what is this about? It didn't even make any sense. But
you just, I suppose, you want it to. You obviously, as fans of the sport and everything, you want them to find something that can better it. But it's just where do you go? Like, I mean, as I said, the game does just kind of evolve on its own as the years go by. But I don't really know what they're gonna find that they can implement that's actually going to make the game better.
Yeah, listen. Well, whatever way they make it, you two guys will make it sound good, tonight, Cahair.
It gives us plenty to talk. There's always plenty to talk about.
Hey, there's always plenty to talk about, lads, as ever, and it'd be great to talk, and we'll talk some more as the season goes on. You keep me a nice comfy seat there in Celtic Park for a week's time. Hey, we'll be rubbing shoulders.
Well, sure. We'll rip the heated seats out of your car and we'll bring them in. Sure, we'll hook them up.
Me and Daire will be in best behaviour. Hey, so we might head to the wee Celtic bar after, sure, for a cup of coffee.
Sounds good.
Aye, listen, Cahair, first class as ever, my man. Thanks for that chat this evening. Daire Boner, where of course Cahair of the Irish News, the first class Irish News, and Daire Boner of the Donegal News. Two great papers. If you want your GA news, get on them every day that they're out, lads. Thanks very much for this evening.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks.
I want to thank Joe Dex for producing as ever, head of sport Oisín Kelly, and hit the button now, he says to me, and stop talking. I'm going to do that straight away. I'll speak to you next week.
Check this.
Yeah.